Hi there, I'm Kevin Patton. For the last 30 years, I've taught anatomy and physiology and related courses to a variety of different students in high schools, community colleges, and universities. And I've coached a lot of A&P students, a lot of students who were having trouble, but also students who wanted to decrease their study time or just get over the hump in their learning. And one of the things I've learned is that most students don't know how to use their textbook very well, at least not use it very effectively. And they spend more time than they need to struggling with their textbook when they can shorten that amount of time and really get more out of it. Let's take a look at a few of the tips I've learned over the years that apply to anatomy and physiology, or really any course that you might be taking this semester. Probably the biggest mistake that students make is to approach their A&P textbook as if it were a novel. That is simply not going to work. Textbooks are designed to work differently than storybooks, and they have specific learning tools you would never find in a storybook. If you really want to speed up your reading and learning, then you need to learn a few tricks. These tricks are called reading strategies, and reading strategies have been proven to improve comprehension. Yes, it does take some time to carry out these reading strategies, but not too much time. And if you use these strategies, you end up using far less time overall to learn the concepts that you need to learn. And you will find that your understanding of the content is much deeper. In each chapter of the textbook, the first thing that you want to do is scope things out a bit before you begin reading. If there is a brief summary at the beginning of the chapter, that will give you an idea of what's coming in that chapter. But even better, it gives you a visual framework of how all the ideas fit together as a whole. Having seen this before you read the chapter, you'll find the chapter easier to understand. If there's not a brief summary available, then skip through the headings and subheadings of the chapter before you begin reading. What many students don't realize when they take a new course is that they will be learning as many new words as in taking a foreign language class. And when you're learning a new language, there are certain tricks and shortcuts that help you learn it faster. One of the easiest tricks is to try and get the words in your head before you worry about trying to understand their meaning or how to use them. You can do this by simply reading them out loud. When you do that, you're using several different parts of your brain to gain familiarity with the terms and store them in your memory. When you later encounter them in your reading, they will be at least a little bit familiar to you, and they won't trip you up so much. One way to find the key terms that you should be reading out loud before tackling a chapter is to simply scan through the chapter and find all the boldface terms. Then read them out loud, more than once if you have time. This is even easier when your book provides a list of key terms at the beginning or end of the chapter. In this example, the list also provides a pronunciation guide to help you sound out the more difficult terms. That way you know that you are saying them the right way when you say them out loud. Yeah, I know this seems really silly, but you'd be surprised at how well it works in making your reading go faster and improving your comprehension of the content. Another trick for using your textbook effectively is to break the material down into small chunks instead of trying to digest too much at one time. This is called chunking. If the chapter is long, then read only one section at a time. Don't try to get through the whole chapter in one sitting, or you'll be wasting most of that time because you won't be able to absorb all of it. Some textbooks help you break things into small chunks by providing a lot of headings and subheadings, as in this example. You can help break it down further by highlighting key sections. That helps you break out the main ideas from the background information. When you are chunking the material like this, make sure that you really understand each section before you move on to the next section. It's worth doing that because you won't understand the later sections very well if you never really understood the earlier sections. Another trick to make learning go easier and faster is to focus on the illustrations in your textbook. Anatomy and physiology and many other subjects are visual subjects, so it makes sense to try and visualize the concepts that you're learning. Many reading experts suggest using the two-finger method. That's where you put one finger on what you're reading and the other finger on the illustration that goes with that section. That way you can easily go back and forth between the words and the picture without losing your place. By using multiple senses like this, you are increasing your comprehension as well as making it more likely that you will remember what you read. After you have read the chapter, you will want to go back frequently and raid the chapter. What I mean by that is go back and look for information that you need to answer a specific question or clear up a particular misunderstanding that you may encounter. Rating a textbook chapter for a particular little nugget of information is easy if you use the headings and subheadings and the highlights that you've added to the chapter. You can also scan the chapter summary to see if the information is there, or at least where in the chapter the information may be located. I know that some of the suggestions just seem like more work when you first hear about them, but they really do save time in the end because they help you use your textbook properly. Your textbook is a learning tool, and like any tool, it doesn't work if you don't use it, and it won't work well if you don't use it properly. If you'd like to know a little bit more about these techniques, visit this website.